Hello, divine human. Welcome back to Benevolent Concepts. I'm Christy Rose. And I don't know about you, but today I am feeling this energetic shift as these overlapping and sort of successive retrogrades in the celestial weather that started sometime back in last December of 2024 and have just basically been running us through a gauntlet of all kinds of change, emotional change, change in our values, change in what we want, what we're ready to accept or not accept anymore in our relationships, um, our vision of who we're here to be in the world and how we want to show up has also been undergoing some change. So we've had retrogrades through Mercury, Mars, Venus, Mercury again, eclipses, all kinds of things have been going on. And I'll be really honest with you, I've been feeling quite stirred for some time, um, sort of just choppy and unclear inside. I haven't been having the best time in my inner world lately, and it's required a lot of work. Um, and suddenly today, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I do know that Mars, Mercury, and Venus are all direct now. Venus just stationed direct this past Saturday with uh, conjunct with a big bright full moon in Libra, and I'm Libra rising. And none of this is that important to you unless you follow these kinds of things. But um, today it feels like the sun is has parted the clouds, and I'm feeling the rays upon me and within me again. And as much as I'd like to gather the courage to sit in front of a camera and speak to you, divine human, even when I'm not feeling totally at my best, um, today I am feeling pretty darn good, relatively speaking. And I just wanted to see what it felt like to come and address you. And so my intention right now is actually to allow spirit to kind of guide our conversation. I have a few decks here, and I'm not really sure in this moment which one I'm going to start with, but I want to shuffle a deck. I actually just felt this one. I really enjoy this Light Seers Tarot deck. So let's just see what Spirit has to say to us right now in this moment as we're moving into spring, more fully into spring and into all this Aries energy. That's one of the changes that's been happening. Give me just a second. Might have seen that little guest cameo from Gopi the Wonder Dog. She is around here somewhere. But so a bunch of long cycle outer moving planets just moved from Pisces into Aries. And Aries represents this energy of fresh starts and new beginnings. It can be very impulsive, it's fiery, but it's like it represents the closing of an old cycle and then opening of a new one. So this is, like I said, it's like the celestial weather, and the weather affects us all on the planet. And our individual unique charts will determine the nature of the impact, but truly, whether it's because something in us is being directly impacted, or someone or something in our vicinity or in the world is being impacted, we're all feeling it in one way or another. So there's a lot of change in the air, a lot of shifting, and perhaps for the first time, a readiness to really truly release some patterns that represent old ways of being and to embrace, and even through action, because Aries is a very action oriented sign, can be impulsive, can be immature, doesn't have the wisdom yet, has the impulse and the initiative of the new, but it doesn't yet have the wisdom of understanding where the cycle's trying to go. So, you know, you take it for what it is. But here we go. I'm just asking Spirit for a timely message, something that really speaks to where I'm at, where we are at, something for me to share with you today. And if you have watched some of my videos before, you know I love when the cards pop out. And so this is the first one that we got. This is really interesting as I'm looking at it. It's the Eight of Swords in reverse. It's really interesting because I was just speaking of how I had been feeling stirred. I've actually been feeling kind of like this inside, like sort of blind and bound. And I've been in this place where I've been looking at almost every area of my life lately and going, oh my God, like I feel stuck and impeded and obstructed, and like I don't know how to choose or how to take action in almost every area of my life. It's not feeling so great. But so here we have this reverse. And so what comes to the forefront is actually more of an opportunity for the clarity of the being, of my being, of our beingnesses, to sort of see the ways that we've been feeling bound and to release the binds the binds that have bound us. So anyway, let's just see what the book has to say about this in a little bit more depth. Eight of Swords. So the Shadow Seer, the reverse of this card, being a victim, feeling helpless, using your stories or past experiences as excuses to remain shackled. Isn't that interesting? Like, I don't feel as though I'm in this energy anymore. But the reverse is still saying that this is what's been at play. And so perhaps it's just identifying this is where I've been. And maybe if you're watching this video, you have also been feeling this way. And so the mantra, the statement for this card is I am free to choose my healing and my light. And isn't that beautiful? Because the truth is we're not bound. We may feel that way, but the truth is this freedom to choose. And I actually had an experience yesterday where I reclaimed this ability to choose in a way that felt just so poignant. And I'd been feeling that stirred feeling and did some EFT to just sort of try to open up and allow myself to feel my emotional body. Did some breath work, my normal meditations, the ways that I like to tend to my energy and my consciousness. And Charles and I, my husband, had gone to actually watch a game at a sports bar slash restaurant, the last game of the Golden State Warriors regular season, and we couldn't get it at home. So we went out, came home. It's a Sunday afternoon. We're just kind of relaxing. We watched a movie. And suddenly I was just like, oh my God, like I have to go outside right now. It's a gorgeous spring day. We've got plenty of sunlight in the spring, but the sun's only out so long and it's been winter. I really want to go outside and experience the sunlight. I was kind of having a resurgence of these feelings. So I took myself outside to our lovely little lawn, very green and lush, and we have this apricot tree in the western side of our yard, and the sun was just starting to be low enough in the sky to be right behind the branches of this apricot tree. And so I sat in the grass where the light and the shadows were cast along the grass. I just sat facing the tree and facing the sun. And I reminded myself of conversations that I used to have when I was really, really studying Abraham Hicks. When I would wake up in the morning, I would do my meditation, and then pretty much all day I would have in my earphones, in my earbuds, I would have Abraham conversations going on, sun up to sundown. And this was like my daily companion. And I really deeply, deeply imbibed like hours a day at a time for a couple of years. I think I did like 3 years like this. Abraham Hicks's teachings on the law of attraction, and particularly the 5 steps of the creative process. And so the 5 steps of the creative process, according to Abraham Hicks, are that first, we experience contrast. So step one is contrast. Contrast can feel like this. Contrast can feel any number of ways. The way that we recognize that we're experiencing contrast is that we don't feel so good about something. Sadness, anger, depression, fear, stress, anxiety, all of those things, anything that doesn't feel like peace and centeredness and calm and presence, anything that feels stirred or agitated in any way is some form of contrast, a contrasting experience that is showing us in the moment that there's a gap between where we are in the moment and where we think we want to be. So there's something that we're becoming clear about in the moment that we want, and we think we don't have it. But that's the trick of contrast. Because another part of Abraham's teachings is, here we go to step two of the creative process, is that in the very instant that our human consciousness becomes aware of something that we perceive as a lack, in that same instant, source energy fills that need. Now, this idea is actually represented in teachings all over the place, including A Course in Miracles, which basically says that the Holy Spirit is the instant ability to fulfill the need. The miracle is the means. The Holy Spirit is sort of this awareness mechanism. I'm not doing justice to A Course in Miracles right now, but basically, every single need or want is fulfilled in the moment. And it's only the fact that we exist in this three-dimensional linear time where we experience time sequentially and linearly that we are experiencing a gap between that instant fulfillment of the desire and the manifestation of that desire in our experience. Okay. So I'm not sure if you're following, but this was the conversation that was coming back to me as I was feeling these emotions arise. And I would just say to myself, I know exactly where I'm at right now. This is step one. I'm experiencing the contrast that is sharpening my awareness of a desire. And the only reason that I'm feeling bad right now is I haven't yet figured out how to allow myself to have the expansion that I've already had. Okay. So, step one of the creative process is experiencing contrast. And so, the good news about this was part of the conversation I was having with myself. I know exactly where I am. I know exactly what this means. I know what this feeling means. And it doesn't mean all of the stories that my mind is telling me about, oh, I suck at this and I'm a victim of this and I'm powerless in regards to this, right? All these crows and all these binds, these ways that I feel bound, my mind is telling me that that's actually the reason for my experience of pain or suffering. But the truth is, the only reason I'm having this experience is because as I, the human, am looking into my life, there is a greater consciousness that is my source self, my soul, my inner being, as Abraham calls it. There are so many terms that humanity has devised to try to point to this part, our superconscious self, our higher self, our inner being, our soul, you name it, right? So many ways to refer to this part, but as it looks through my eyes and my senses into this experience, it is only seeing that which reflects the magnificence, the beauty, the love, the divinity of that divine higher soul self. And so there is a gap. If my self is looking over here and seeing something and perceiving it as if from a victim perspective, my spirit is looking at it and it is seeing the exaltation of that experience. And again, as Course in Miracles says, that for everything that the human mind has made, there is God's version of it, which is basically mediated by this entity known as the Holy Spirit. It's almost like God's AI. It can go in and it can instantly compute, well, what would actually be the divine version of this? And so if I'm seeing the version that my mind made, which is like this, and my spirit is seeing the divine version, then what does that mean? It means that there's this vibrational distance between the uppercase reality of what my soul and spirit sees on my behalf and what I'm fixated on. And the distance between those two vibrations equals the emotion that I feel. I mean, this is amazing stuff. And it's one of the reasons that I chose to spend these years of my life from about 2017 to about 2020 when I found Cryon and kind of started venturing into other realms of this whole ascension thing that I believe is going on our planet, um, is to understand the mechanism of our creative process, to understand what is my emotion actually telling me in the moment. And I can still use all the tools, all the EFT, the inner child dialogue. I can still use all of these tools that I have to go and actually address where the feeling lives in my body, to address the thoughts and the beliefs that I'm holding in my mind that are creating the resistance, right? And as I release those, then let's do it this way, right? Because the exaltation, the divine version of whatever it is that my mind is fixated on, it's vibrating really high. And what I'm feeling, if it's vibrating down here, but as I release the resistance, you know, Abraham talks about your cork floating. And so as you release the resistance, your perception, your entire vehicle and vibrational stance in your life, it rises and it can come to match the frequency of your inner being. When we are in alignment with the frequency of our inner being, we feel good. And the very baseline of that is just a sense of peace, a sense of inner calm, a sense of simple inner presence in this moment here and now. And as that state gains momentum, that's another thing that Abraham talks about a lot, that state can then become interest, curiosity, joy, love, passion. It can become that as that state is sustained and it grows. Um, but what I've found to be magic, and I returned to the magic of it yesterday, was that simply calling the contrast what it is, just naming it and saying, when I feel a negative emotion, I know what it means in the 5 steps of the creative process. I have experienced contrast. It means I have expanded. Hello, little puppy doggy. I know. I got you trapped in here with mama, and I'm not even paying attention. Did you lose your toy? I thought you did. Yeah, I know. Just give me a minute. Mama's in the groove. So, step 1 of the creative process, go be sit. Go be off, and sit. Good girl. Look how good you are down. Down. Oh, look what a good doggy. Yes. See? You're doing so good. Now wait. Good girl. Can you wait? Yes. Wait. How long will you wait? That's a good wait. Okay, all done. She's like a bullet when you release her. Go be. Off. Go be. Hey, off. Down. Puppy. Look in my armpit. This video is becoming a disaster. Step 2 of the creative process is that source fulfills that need. Now, step 3 is where the work for us as human beings comes in. Step 3 is where we need to release resistance to come into alignment with the perspective of our inner being. Okay. Step 4 is learning how to continually to sustain that state, basically. How do you release resistance? And then how do you stay in a state where you're able to sustain a perspective that's more in alignment with your inner being? And then step 5 is the acknowledgement that because we're human and because we didn't come here to always get it perfect, there's no such thing as getting it perfect. Because as Abraham says, we'll never get it wrong. Can't get it wrong because if you're eternal and you're always just simply perfecting your creative process, there's no wrong. There's just more contrast, right? So that's what step 5 is. We find ourselves in contrast again. So you find yourself in a state of negative emotion, and what the tendency of the human being is to do is to beat ourselves up because, wait, wasn't step 4 that I was going to learn how to sustain and basically live my life in this vortex place that Abraham describes, where my perspective and my inner being's perspective are on par and I'm seeing through the eyes of source? Well, gosh, that sounds lovely, doesn't it? And Abraham's not saying that we can't aspire to that. And I certainly would aspire to having more and more of that as my dominant experience. But the bottom line of these 5 steps is that when you find yourself in step 5, you're actually back in step 1 of the creative process in the contrast. And step 5 is learning to appreciate the contrast. So here we are. And I'm not sure exactly where that is. I'm going to actually allow the cards to guide us again into where this conversation wants to go next. Okay. So we are here as these empowered creative beings. Seven of Swords. Interesting, the swords energy. It's air, which we just had this full moon in Libra, but from the Eight of Swords to the Seven of Swords, I act from a place of love and morality, and the universe witnesses my honest intentions. So, in this card, it's about deception, betrayal, taking only what's needed, the universe bearing witness to true intentions, getting away with something, being strategic, being grateful for the resources that you have, moving silently and quickly. Okay, so I'm going to actually read the entire little blurb here for this card to just help us find some clarity with what the cards want to say to us right now. Traditionally, this card warns us that we must be on the lookout for deception, thievery, and betrayal. While we can sometimes find ourselves the victim of someone else's deceit, it's also a nudge to act in alignment with our own highest morality. Be sure that you're being honest with yourself about the nature of your reality right now. Sometimes we pretend that everything is okay or that we're doing the best we can even when we're not. Sometimes this shows up as recklessness or as avoidance of responsibilities. Take only what's needed and remember that no excuse outweighs your ability to act from a place of love and integrity. You cannot deceive your own heart, and the universe will always bear witness to your truest intentions. For you alone and vulnerable under the light of the full moon, the only thing that matters is the truth. Okay, so for you, alone and vulnerable under the light of the full moon, the only thing that matters is the truth. Move forward with the lightness of conscience to guide you. Beautiful. It's interesting. I'm still reflecting on what this has to say in terms of our conversation right now. But I will say that in all of this feeling bound in recent weeks, um, I was feeling like there was this part of me that wanted to skip out on doing the inner work, right? Wanted to avoid doing the tapping or even simply all of the beautiful energy workers, light workers that I'm subscribed to on YouTube, and they might produce a full moon activation energy session, for example. And I'd scroll through YouTube and come across their offering, and I would just scroll past it, like not really wanting to encounter the difficult feelings. And so this weekend, I did do a full moon activation from someone that I'm subscribed to on YouTube. Maybe I'll mention her in future videos. And it was hard work, man. It was deep, and there were a lot of tears, and there was a lot of density and discomfort that I had to sit through in order to get to the other side of this activation. And it was like 45 minutes. It was really, really intense. But when I got to the other side of it, I knew that I had done the work that I needed to do. I knew I had taken responsibility, and I had been trying to get away with not actually doing the work. And it wasn't working because I was feeling these emotions and it called me outside and I had to sit with them and be with them. So I'm going to just draw one more card and see if there's anything. I think that this video has really gone on as long as it needs to, just to give you a message and share a little bit of myself with you and just say, I am planning on doing more energy transmissions. We got the King of Wands. Okay, I like this because here we go with fire energy, the King of Wands. We have a Leo in the back, a lion, sorry, Leo, lion, a lion in the back. And even though this isn't necessarily Aries energy, the lion is more like Leo, another fire sign, but we do have this energy of initiation. Um, or at least the fire element showing up here. So let's see. Let's see what our King of Wands has to say to us. King of Wands. passionate and heart fueled, we build this empire of light together. Ooh, I love that. An entrepreneurial spirit, a natural born leader, ideas that can be ultra successful, a creative visionary, timelessness, success, fire. Yeah. So here we are. This fiery guy. He's a charismatic and natural born leader whose vitality emanates through his laughter and his obsession with a life well lived. As you dance into this energy, you may feel a surge of entrepreneurial passion that pushes you to the edges of your epic success. The card of moguls, masterpieces, and soul inspiration, the King of Wands calls you to unleash that offbeat weirdo that you've got inside and be absolutely unapologetic in your pursuit of the stellar. Ground your vision through the wildly novel expression of big ideas, and if you find yourself getting tripped up by the minutiae of the everyday, recruit help and map out the bigger picture. Holler passionately. Invite others to see what you see. The shadow side of this energy is that you may not perceive your own blind spots because of an overzealous ambition. Keep arrogance and unrealistic expectations at bay and work out the kinks before charging ahead with your intensely vibrant heart. So I love this and I laughed when they said, unleash that offbeat weirdo that you've got inside and be absolutely unapologetic in your pursuit of the stellar. Because that's why I'm here today recording a video. I feel like I just want to say as I'm starting to close this message to you, divine human, is that I can remember when I first became aware of YouTube back in the day. In my mind, I want to say this was like 2003, 2004, and I'm sure YouTube was around before that, but I remember having this awareness like, what an amazing opportunity and platform that I could be sitting here in my home and record something and post it on the internet and that all kinds of people could see it. And I've shared with you in some other videos that really there's something about this ability to simply sit down, you know, turn the camera on and start to share that it matches with my desire to be of service to you, divine human, in a way that feels really simple and effortless, right? It's not that I'll never do anything that seems like a bigger production, but there's something about this as a seed in my home, in the comfort of my home, in a beautiful space that I created that holds intentions that I have to help uplift the planet and to have really weirdo, wacky conversations with you, divine human, about what it means to be a divine human on this planet. And so, after a little bit of a hiatus and a little bit of silence from me, I wanted to reassert my desire, my intention to speak to you, to just show up and share myself. And I'm nervous about it. And sometimes I don't want to get on camera if I don't feel like I look my best, or, excuse me, if my energy is not in a place that I feel proud of, because I'm having this experience of this 2-4 splenic projector that I incarnated as in this lifetime. And I do believe that we're going beyond that. And I mean to have conversations with you, divine human, where I share some of the downloads and the insights that I've been receiving and that I know others are receiving as well. That whatever it was that we were when we were born into this lifetime, we now have the opportunity to change it and to step into something new. And I believe that part of all of these retrogrades that have been taking us through these old patterns, and now this emergence of these energies into Aries, into something new, right? We also shifted into the age of Aquarius recently. That's been spoken about for some decades, at least on this planet. We are in that new age. We have the changing of the global cycles according to human design coming up in February of 2027. I want to share some about that big global cycle picture. That is I'm seeing that and I'm feeling it in my experience. I want to share that with you. And we have concluded that precession of the equinoxes, the Mayan calendar, and that's what that was speaking to. We graduated from something, humans, And there are people on the planet that are talking about it. And for me, it's what is the most exciting and inspiring to me as a divine human on the planet right now is the fact that all of these shifts are are really creating an energy of support that is unprecedented on our planet for us all as we choose to leave behind old limiting patterns and to step into something new. And for those of you who are sitting here saying, well, I've been hearing this for years and years and years, when is it actually going to happen? When is it, when is the event going to happen? Well, what I have to say is that it's not like a singular event. It's like a cascade of these changes that don't all exactly align up in the same moment, but they are all leading to the same place. Okay. And that is this new Earth. Some people call it New Earth. Some people call it 5D. Um, some people call it ascension. Some people call it graduate status. And I believe that all of these things are basically pointing to a new potential that is available to humanity that has been known about and spoken about for quite some time, but it hasn't quite been ready. It's like we've gotten a preview of plans of some facility that's been being built and it's been under construction for some time. And we get impatient and we forget about it and then we remember it and we go, "Oh, that thing, is it ever actually going to be real?" Well, now we're getting the notices that the grand opening is actually coming up, okay? Um, and so I don't want to go into too much of that right now. This was just a message to basically say, I am here, divine human, to share myself with you and to speak with you and to share with you the things that are exciting and inspiring to me that I see as humanity is going through unprecedented changes and moving into something that we've been longing for and has seemed quite impossible. And it's only really been time on the planet for those things to happen now and moving forward. So here we go. I'm really excited about what it means to be a divine human on the planet right now. And I know I'm sounding repetitive and very vague in general right now, but I'm hoping to at least partially transmit to you a little bit of the juice of this excitement. And as I said before, I do plan on doing some more actual energy transmissions. I'm thinking that in the moment, I want to find, a day to do a live. Um, and I really want to do the energy transmissions live. And that's just the thought that I have right now. And I don't have a whole big audience right now, so it's not super consequential, but um, those are the thoughts that I'm having. So thanks for tuning in, Divine Human. This is Christy Rose and Benevolent Concepts, where I wish to support you to imagine goodness for yourself, for those that you love, for the world, and beyond. Be well until next time. Mwah.